Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to cover 10 things that I think would help you build a house on budget, maybe on time, and not just get so crazy with the way homes are going these days. So in order to do that, I just thought, man, maybe I'll make a list, 10 things, and here we go. First thing, number 10, get over yourself. A house is a shelter. It is to insulate you from the environment, from weather, from the sun, the rain, the cold weather. We've gone so far away from that we don't even build houses that do that. Now homes are a vanity statement. They're meant to impress people that you don't even know that are driving by. So they're building houses inefficient, not structurally sound, but look pretty good from the front. By front, I mean they brick the front, they vinyl side the backs. So get over yourself. A home is a shelter. Let's try to keep the goal in mind of what we're doing. Number 9, don't try to reinvent the wheel. I mean, if you're building a house and your goal is to do it on a pretty tight budget, it's not going to benefit you at all to search the internet of the craziest ways you can build, especially if you're not going to do it. If you're going to have a contractor do it, they're going to charge you through the nose because they don't know. That's a risk that they probably don't even want to take. Some crazy, like I looked into nothing against these types of building, but like cordwood or earth sheltered homes or things like that. They all have benefits. They all have pros and cons. But to try to convince somebody that doesn't build like that to do it, or you to try to build it yourself, you have to understand the people that are going to be available to give you advice on those building styles are very few. So just don't try to reinvent the wheel. They build houses a certain way for a certain reason. Now you can build them to greater or lesser qualities, but or maybe deviate a little bit like I did here, ICF. It's not real prevalent in my area, but it's really prevalent in lots of parts of the country. So I was able to reach out and get advice and engineering specs and all that stuff versus, a lot of stuff maybe you just be on your own, and especially if you're not a builder. Anyway, moving on. Number 8, if you're going to be buying a lot of materials like I've done here, find a rewards plan. Even if you don't. So what I'm saying is if you have the money and you're paying cash, and you could say put it on a credit card or with a rewards plan, or if you don't want to do credit cards, at least a debit card with some kind of rewards plan, or a store rewards. If you can be like Home Depot or Lowe's, they'll give their contractors 5% or 10% off plus free delivery of materials. Really look into that, because when you're spending $100,000, $200,000, you're talking thousands of dollars that could be coming back to you in savings or in rebates or whatever. I mean, normally I think it's kind of gimmicky to get you to come back to the store, but in this instance, when you're spending that much money in a short, concentrated time, it really can be rewarding. Number 7, build simple and smaller. Houses have gotten crazy. When I was started on all this journey, I was looking at the average home size and the average family size, and the average home size in the 60s was just over 1,000 square feet, and the average occupants of that home were 5 or 6 people. Now we're looking at 3, 4, maybe 5 people in 22 to 2,700 square feet on average. And not only that, for the most part, you're 2-income family and the kids are at school all day, so you are going to be indebted for the rest of your life for a beautiful home that all your neighbors will be so envious of that you don't even get to spend much time in. So scale it down. You can do it. You're going to have to get rid of stuff if you're downsizing, but there's a middle ground. I'm not a fan of tiny homes at all. I'm open to whatever you want to do, you do it. Hey, this is still America. But when I see a tiny home that's 400 square feet and it costs $100,000, and I'm building a 1,600 square foot house for just a little bit more, and mine's not on a utility trailer, okay? I don't think they're cost effective. That being said, if your goal is to move around all the time, maybe that's what you need to do. I've always thought maybe a camper would be a better option, but when you're talking super small, the price per square foot is really high. And I think the livability is probably not that great. So think simple, like this house is a 4-cornered house. There's efficiencies to that. There's efficiencies to having less windows or whatever. But number 7, build simple, build smaller, because it really does come down to square foot. Everything has to do with that, because your roof, your walls, everything. Number 6, efficient home shape. I kind of touched on that. So this house is a square. It's 40 by 40. That's 1,600 square feet. So I kind of did a little math to show you, because I've talked about it in a few other videos, but I don't know that it's fully understandable. So I'll show you this. So a circle, the top one, that's 1,600 square feet. That's 141 linear feet of wall. The second one, so that's the most efficient shape, is a circle. Now down here on a square, that's 1,600 square feet. It's 160 linear foot of wall. And then I just did one below it to show you the bottom one is 20 by 80. It's 1,600 square feet of wall, or excuse me, 1,600 square feet with 200 feet of wall. And I wrote over here, my walls for this ICF house obviously were expensive compared to stick built. It was $15,000, which comes out per linear foot of unfinished wall at over $90 a linear foot. So, if I were to have been a different shape, I have more linear feet, so that costs more money. So it's not per square foot. And that's what I had a problem with builders. They would say, well, square foot's all that matters. It's X dollar per square foot. And I know that that's not true, because like this house has less walls. When you think about it, a house is exterior walls and interior fill walls when you're talking ICF. The interior walls are not that expensive. So if I were to add 50 more feet of wall space, that's $100 a foot. Not only that, the more linear feet of wall, exterior wall you have more drywall, more electrical wire, more exterior siding. So it all adds up. So efficient sizes. You look at these beautiful ranches that are 25 feet deep and 80 feet long, it's just not an efficient size. So efficient shape and design. This house has 4 windows. Windows are nothing but energy losses and money drains. I love windows, I love natural light. Go a little bit bigger windows. That's what I did here. I went with 4 windows in my whole house. I have other doors, and I went with 3/4 glass on the front door, half on the back, and then a 6-foot slider to maximize the sunlight. But you're obviously losing efficiencies 2 ways. 1, windows cost more than walls do. 2, windows are energy leaks, so it's going to cost you more forever. And obviously that's a balance. I mean, you can't build a house with no windows, but when you see a house that one whole wall, especially like the south wall in the southern part of the state, or the north, if it's the north wall, I mean, that's just the worst. Because obviously there's solar gain in the south and your heat loss in the north. But you have to think about the placement. And we're not talking about building in a neighborhood. I mean, I could face my house here any direction I want. I wanted to orient it to where we get some sunshine, but the southern wall has no glass, because I'm basically concerned about heat gain from where I live. So anyway, efficient home shape, that makes a difference. 5, utility runs. Where my electric comes in, I talked about this in the last video, that all my major appliances are within 10 feet of my electrical panel. I don't have these huge long runs through basements, up second floors and all this of like 8-gauge wire or just tons of plumbing, or, not only is that a potential for future problem, especially in plumbing, but it just costs more money. It costs more time to run all that stuff. And then, if there's ever a problem, now where are we going to track it down to? Whereas you have short runs, it's easy to figure out where all these things are. So minimize utility runs in your home design. Number 4, stick with the plan. This is hard, especially if you're doing it yourself. When we were building our front porch, I let my little mind start turning, and I say, I could make, instead of a 16-foot wide porch, I could make it 40 foot. And then I'm doing the math. And well, the porch is this. Well, then when I start doing it, I say, okay, the porch is bigger. Okay, so there's the lumber involved in doing that. That's not much, $1,000 maybe. Okay. Now I've got to do 3 times the concrete pad, a couple thousand more dollars. I've got to do a bigger roof. I've got more drip edge. I've got more underlayment. I've got more gutters. I've got all, it adds up, and people don't look at the total cost of these things. They just say, well, wouldn't it be nice to move that over here or do that? If you've got a good plan, spend time before you build. Pencil and paper are cheap. Do all those things and then stick with it. Just commit to sticking with the plan, unless it is just you come up on something you go, I don't know what I was thinking, this is absolutely stupid, but realize there's a cost to that. Especially if you have a contractor. They're going to make a change order. They're going to have to get new plans drawn up. It's going to cost you. So just spend more time on the front end sticking with the plan. Number 3, long-term savings versus building expense. So I struggle with that heavily here. So an ICF wall is far more expensive than a standard dimensional stick built wall. But I think the long-term savings will benefit me more. There'll be savings every month on my utility bills to save, just like insulation. You could stack insulation all the way to the top of the roof, but how long is it going to take you to get your return on that investment? So everything is saying, if I do this here to save efficiencies, how long is the payoff on that, and how long is the initial cost? Some things are not worth it. I haven't really priced this house. The last house I built, we really priced solar. And when it was all said and done, at the time, my utilities were running $100 bucks a month. And so I was looking at 20, 30 years to break even on a solar system. And so it's like, it's never gonna pay off. I mean, if you're talking about preparedness or things, that's completely different. That is not at all what I'm talking about. Money, for the most part, doesn't come into the equation when you talk about that. What I'm talking about is a dollar spent on the front end, how long does it take you to get that dollar back? So long-term savings, building expense. Number 2, offer cash. If you have the ability to have cash, I have 100% success rate in cash when I'm dealing with people. Now, I've built almost all of this myself, but I have done a few things, contracted this or that, where I've offered cash, and we'll just leave it at that, and guys are excited. The best I've got is 10% off. In that particular instance, saved me $1,000. I would say thus far I've saved $5,000 to $7,000 in cash versus writing them a check. And if you have the ability to do that, it definitely can pay off. And of course, number 1 is do it yourself. You may not be able to do everything yourself. Where you live, your code might not allow you if you're not licensed. I don't know. Where I live, I can do pretty much everything myself. There's a few things that I'm going to sub out. But what I've found through talking with all kinds of contractors about what if I sub this out, which I went through this whole process before I basically decided to do it myself. Roughly, your material, multiply that by 3, that's going to be install price. So it is material times 3 for the most part, what I've found. So obviously it's much cheaper to do it yourself. You're going to be about 25% total cost of hiring it out. And a lot of times you can do it just the same. Where that really pays off is if you have simplified your house. I mean, putting windows in could be terrible, but you could probably figure 4 windows. You could do that. If you have 48 windows and it's going to take you a month to do it, and meanwhile your home is getting rain in it, you're probably going to pay somebody to do it. So the simplistic design of this house has really paid off in doing things myself because it's just easier. It's smaller, shorter runs on things, and the overall payoff has been really good. That being said, I am going to have a few things. I'm kind of getting to the point where a few things I'm going to sub out for the sake of time. And honestly, when you get somebody in certain trades, you can't do it much cheaper than they can do it. They're getting better deals on materials. Because what I found is material savings is not your savings when you're talking labor is 3 times material. So even if you have to spend a little bit more, but there are certain things, like I said, insulation, I can contract it out and have it done in one day for cheaper than I can buy all the materials and do it myself. So do it yourself. That's my top 10 ways that I thought about. If you're building your own or you're having it done, think about these things. They do make a huge difference. So put in the comments below, what are some things you think I missed? Or if you agree with me, put it in the comments below. Tell me some things that you think would save money on building a house. I'm no expert. I'm not a professional home builder. I'm just figuring this out as I go. But appreciate you guys watching the video. I really do. I'm trying to get better every day at being a YouTuber. So thanks again. Like it. Put a comment down below on things that you know of or whatever that we could all kind of learn from on how to build a house better. And I'll catch you next time.